Welcome to the midweek mailbag on this wonderful National Championship Tuesday morning. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I am the producer over at Pride of Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Online on Twitter. With me, as always, sharing in the Wolverine glory is the machine, is managing editor of Pride of Detroit, is at Erik Schlitt on Twitter. Erik Schlitt is here. How we doing, buddy?
Hey, buddy. It's a good day to be a Michigan Wolverine graduate here, right?
That's right.
Lots of fun feelings. Got my maze on, and I'm ready to go. It's close enough.
Close enough. Close enough. For the podcast, it's really more of an orange, but we don't need to get into it.
No. It's like I'd say closer to mustard, but still, it's maze. We'll call it maze.
We'll call it
I
maze.
like it.
But you know what? We are not here to talk about college football. As exciting as that game was last night, we have what, in my opinion, is a bigger game for local sports. I'm sure some people would disagree, but the Detroit Lions have themselves a playoff game, a home playoff game against Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams coming up this Sunday night. We will be there. We'll be covering it head to toe, back to front, all of those things. But today we are answering your Detroit Lions questions, and we're pretty much sticking to just that game. There are other things going on like coaching searches, and some people might want to talk a little bit about what happened against the Vikings, but we are pushing forward with just this game in mind because it's huge. It's there's a lot of stakes. It's a lot of fun. There could be some magical things on the way, and so let's get into it. We're going to start with a very generic question here from Big BK Shaky on Twitter, LionsBlood20, asks, how would you game plan both offensively and defensively versus the Rams?
I would prepare for a shootout, but I would focus on what I focused on all season, and that is to try and control the trenches, right? One of the big advantages that you're going to have in this game is your ability to run and then stop the run. Now they have a good they have a good run team, and they have a good passing team. Their offense is good in both aspects, but their ability to stop the run is, I think, one of their weaker parts. And so that's where I would start. I would start by saying, let's get after them on the ground and let's try and refocus our energy and show why we are the number one run defense in DVOA. And that's where it starts in the trenches, but like I said, be prepared to sling it if I need to, but you win this game by winning with the big hog mollies up front.
Yeah, no, and defensively, I'm like, really both teams are going to try to do the same thing offensively, which is what they've been doing all year, be an extremely balanced offense, hit on the play action, get your deep shots in here and there, but both teams have been so good and so balanced but the difference to me is that you mentioned there, the Lions have the number one run defense for the entire season in DVOA. They have the ability to make a quarterback in offense one-dimensional. The Rams are okay at run defense. They've been improving as the season goes on, but they aren't elite like the Lions are. So that's issue number one. Like, if you can make the Rams one-dimensional, and it's not going to be easy. This is a good Rams rushing attack. Kyron Williams is having a heck of a year. But if you can do that, well, then suddenly you can get Matthew Stafford into third and longs. Suddenly you can pin your ears back a little bit, and as much as Matthew Stafford is the boogeyman right now and scary, especially against this pass defense, the one thing he can't do is run on you a bunch. He'll do it every now and then, and he can manage the pocket kind of okay, but he's mostly a mobile quarterback, and if you put pressure in his face, he is going to get sacked. And the Lions have been very good at really combining those two things, stopping the run and then getting pressure over the past month. Now, they're still giving up the deep shots, but I think it's a trade-off that the Lions have been okay taking. Sure, rack up 400 yards against us, but we're still going to force 4, 5, 6 punts in this game. We're still going to get an interception or two. We're going to get our defense off the field on these possessions, and if you hit on a 40-yard touchdown here or there, that's fine, because we're going to limit you to punts and field goals the rest of the game, and that's how they've been winning down the stretch here. And I think that's the game plan defensively against the Rams that can work.
Yeah, I think turnovers is going to be a key because Stafford is still the gunslinger that he's always been, and he's willing to take shots because he thinks and knows he has the arm strength to fit that ball into spots that most people can't, and so he's willing to take those risks. Lions have forced 8 turnovers in the last 3 games, and they've been very opportunistic. And of course, the caveat on that is that Nick Mullins threw 6 of them,
Yep.
right? But they're still in the right place at the right time, making plays on the ball when they need to. They could easily just let those balls fall to the ground, and then it is what it is. But you're capitalizing on it, and there will be opportunities because as good as Stafford is, we all have seen him. He will throw balls that are 50-50 balls, and because he trusts his receivers are going to go get it.
Yep.
And the Lions have to be, opportunistic.
And I would say the other thing that works relatively in their favor is the fact that they play a lot of zone, right? And that's not to Matthew Stafford's strength. He is much more like, if my wide receiver is in on 1-on-1, I'm going to put it exactly where it needs to be and let my receiver make a play, like you just said. We all remember there were frustrating amount of times when he was in Detroit where he just did not see a linebacker. He just completely read the defense wrong. Guy stepped in front of it and picked him off. That, I think, plays to the Lions' strength. Even though Matthew Stafford has been pretty darn protective of the ball as of late, if there's one kind of defense that I think in general he struggles against, it's zone over man. And so that's what the Lions like to do right now, and that's something that I think could tip the scales in their favor. Even if it just means one interception in this game, that could be the difference.
Yeah, he throws about one a game, right? Isn't that or is it just that? That's just giveaways in general.
Yeah.
But so they're pretty low in giving the ball away, but they don't take the ball away either. They are not very opportunistic on defense. They're averaging less than a takeaway a game, which is like 30th in the league. So if you're careful with the ball and you can take advantage, that's a huge opportunity for the Lions to gain an advantage on him.
All right, well, let's move a little bit more to the offensive side of the ball. Jason Krolik on Twitter asks, will the Lions be able to run the ball against the Rams?
I think so. I mean, the Rams are good, and they're really good in the middle of their defensive line, right? And it's not just Aaron Donald. It's the guys that they rotate in. The rookies playing well as why am I blanking on his name? Kobe Turner, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, he's playing well. And so they're good, but their edges are not. And so it just changes the type of run game that you're going to do. Instead of trying to be more gap oriented, like we've seen them trying to be the last couple of weeks, it's more outside zone. And when they run outside zone, that's a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. That's a lot, and it's a lot of speed opportunities, I guess, for the Lions. So the nice thing is this offensive line can do both, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes them so efficient and so effective. And that's why they are the 4th run offense in DVOA, right? Because they can look at what you do best, and then they can run a blocking scheme that puts you in a bad position. And so I think the running game's been a little subdued last couple of weeks. They've just been more passive, I think, in general. Their approach was passive last week. Even though they scored 30 points against the top 10 Vikings defense,
right?
They still seemed like they were very passive up front. The blitzing, I'm sure, was part of that. But yeah, I do think there's opportunities because of their ability to schematically attack the Rams front.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the past 2 weeks, I mean, you win up against a really good and fast Cowboys defense, and for as much as Vikings defense has struggled in the past couple weeks, they're still a top 10 unit who regularly stops the run pretty well. So those are 2 tough opponents, and the Lions weren't like completely shut out of the run game in either of those games. They had over 100 against the Cowboys. They just had too many negative plays, and then against the Vikings, it was just like 3 yards, and that's about it on a lot of those runs. They didn't really have a breakout run in that game. And so this is a much easier opponent. You're right that they have playmakers right up the middle of that defense. So, this will be an important game for the guards and the center. But in general, I think this is a favorable matchup for the Lions to run the ball. And we know they're going to. It's essentially their identity. And I don't know, like, I'm not that fearful of this linebacking core. If one of the backs gets to the second level, that's going to be huge because I think they can make those guys miss. I don't think anyone in their secondary is particularly strong against the run either. So I'm I like that matchup there. I think the Lions will be able to grind it out there. And if they want to slow the pace of the game here and they don't want Matthew Stafford to be chucking it up 40 times a game, that is an opportunity to do so and really play the game that they want to, really on both sides of the ball if they're able to do that. All right, back to the defense here, because understandably so, we're getting a lot of questions about basically the Rams passing attack versus the Lions secondary, which obviously has a lot of issues right now in terms of being able to stop outside receivers. So this question comes from Treff. Asked, do you expect the Lions to have an easier time against the smaller body slot receivers, smaller body and slot receivers like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, compared to the big body receivers like JJ, Justin Jefferson, that is, CeeDee Lamb, Allen, and so forth?
No, I think the thing that's been problematic for Detroit, I mean, big receivers are definitely part of it, but it's just been receivers that can run routes that can get them into space and open, and that's what the Rams do, right? Yeah. And so those are going to be problematic. Like, this is the biggest obstacle in front of Detroit by far.
Yeah,
is the passing attack of the Rams versus the secondary of Detroit. And from a coverage standpoint, you're going to play zone. You're going to try and pass guys off. You're going to try and get as many. You're probably going to get a lot of defensive backs out there. They talked about getting 3 safety sets last week against the Vikings, and they didn't really do it. Yeah. I do think this is an opportunity for 3 safety sets. You could see a lot of cover 3 with the safeties, and then man with the outside corners. There's lots of variety of what you can do. The key is going to be pressure. How much pressure can they get? Do you have to scheme pressure open by blitzing? Can Aiden Hutchinson continue to just get it done? I mean, like, he's one of only 4 guys in since PFF's been tracking pressures to break the century mark, right? Something like that. There was only 4 guys that had done it previously or something, or a couple of guys. He's got 11.5 sacks. Like, he's been terrific, and he's going to have, he's going to get some good matchups, right? Like, he's probably going to go against Havenstein, which is, a really good right tackle. But if they're creative and they find ways to try and get him matchup opportunities, that pressure is going to shorten the time that Stafford has to throw. If we shorten the time, it shortens the windows, and it just makes everything easier. So I think from a coverage standpoint, it's a real problem. And you're going to, if you can find pressure, it makes everything easier.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I just look at a guy like Jordan Addison, right? He's a pretty small-bodied receiver, and, there didn't seem like there was a guy who could cover him. And so I think the key is, like you said, pressure, particularly when the Lions send pressure, because they're going to send pressure. That has been kind of the key to unlocking how they've been so good, quote-unquote good over the past month, is turning up the aggression to 11, is making your safeties part of your blitz packaging. I mean, Iffy has been huge. I think Iffy got even overlooked a little bit in the Vikings game, because the interception to Cam Sutton was all because of Fatu Melifonwu was blitzing on that play. Got right in Mullins' face. And so when that happens, you have to be careful, though, right? Because 4th and 1 against the Vikings is a perfect example. The Lions huddled, everyone in the box. They left Justin Jefferson one-on-one, and he beat not Khalil Dorsey, the other one.
Cam Sutton.
No.
Cam.
Other guy.
Oh.
Why can't I think his name?
Vildor.
Vildor, thank you.
I was thinking opposite side of the field.
No,
sorry.
Yeah, Vildor. And so that they're going to have to hang. They're going to have at some point they are going to be on one-on-ones. At some point the Lions are going to be in the zero blitz, because that's how they're generating pressure. That's how they're freeing up Aiden Hutchinson. It's part of their DNA right now in what is making them successful. So yeah, some of these guys are going to have to win on one-on-ones. And do I feel very confident in it right now? Absolutely not. No, I don't. But I think this is a huge Aaron Glenn game. He needs to be able to disguise some of those blitzes, sometimes drop guys into coverage that you probably don't want into coverage, just to confuse Matthew Stafford and keep him kind of second guessing. But yeah, this is a really, really tough matchup for Detroit. It's the Cowboys game to me. It's a Cowboys game, except they can also run the ball. That's how difficult this matchup is for Detroit. And listen, Detroit played the Cowboys well. They held them to 20 points
Yeah.
and really only to 17 points until the very end of the game. So there's hope. There's certainly hope, but the Lions are going to have to find disruptive plays. They're going to have to get off the field on third downs, and they're going to have to get home.
It's kind of like the Cowboys game from a defensive standpoint as well, because they're tough up the middle, but they don't have a Micah Parsons guy. They
Right.
don't have
Aaron Donald, but it's different.
No, but he's more like I look
Yeah.
at him more like Lawrence, where he's like an inside out.
Right.
He's
Yep.
like quick first step interior pressure guy.
100%.
But they don't have a Parsons, right? Excuse me. They just don't. They don't have the depth on defense that the Cowboys had. They're going to be strong in their two defensive tackles. They're going to be strong at their linebacker spot. Where their Ernest Jones is doing really well for them this year.
Yeah.
But they're vulnerable on the corners. They're vulnerable at safety. They're vulnerable on the edges. And so there's opportunities to do what you did against Dallas, but maybe potentially even better because you're not facing that level of defense. Offensively, you have to have I would agree with that. You have to have a similar game plan that you had 2 weeks ago.
Next one, kind of on the same topic. Lions fan Oaxaca asks, there's a lot of concern about cornerback play, especially in regards to number one receivers, and a lot of praise for the Lions' safety depth. But don't the safeties share responsibility for this problem? Are they failing to provide over-the-top help for the corners?
Well, there's times, right? And you're never really going to know for certain. Like, for example, the touchdown that Cam Sutton was beat on, he pushed outside and then got into trail. And it sure looked like he was waiting for over-the-top help that didn't arrive. At the same time, he could have just been beaten and gotten in a bad spot. We don't really know what the play call is. So we're just ascertaining what we think might have happened. But his body language, the way he approached that play, it sure looked like he was looking for over-the-top help. Now, Sutton's going to get a ton of blame for that because he was basically playing underneath because he's the only one that was there.
Right.
If there was a safety that was supposed to go over, they weren't anywhere where they needed to be. But we're never going to know that. Right. And so, it's hard to tell. I do think the safeties in coverage can be better. I think their creativity and flexibility is why they're getting so much love right now. Plus the safeties are the ones that are picking the balls off, right? It's Kirby, it's Iffy, it's Branch. Right now, Branch is your hybrid, but still, it's not your outside guys that are making interceptions. It's all of the interior players. And so I actually think they went a little vanilla on their defensive scheming with the guys that they had available last week because they didn't want to show their cards for this weekend, especially with the safety depth. I think there's some creative wrinkles that they may have just kind of tucked away for this week.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of smush another question here from Chip at Butler KAB, who says the Rams run 11 personnel almost 100% of the time. Any chance the Lions defend with dime to get their best defensive backs on the field at once? And you mentioned that already, like that's certainly a possibility. The only thing I would warn against that is because the Rams are such a good running team, that leaves you a little bit vulnerable up the middle, and the Lions linebackers have been so important to why they've been able to stop the run. And if you're trying to make the Rams one-dimensional, taking a linebacker off the field is a risk. Now, is leaving Anzalone and Jack Campbell out there for potential passing plays also a risk? You betcha. It sure is, which makes them a very hard team to defend. It's why they're a number 2, number 3 offense over the past 2 months. But like there is that give and take there where it's like, yeah, it would make sense in an ideal world to say, oh, you're spreading out 3 wide receivers. All right, let's go dime. But the Rams run the ball as much as anyone else in the league. They're not a team that you expect that has like a high early down passing rate. They like to run the ball. They are very much built in the same way that the Lions are. So I would warn against that strategy matching dime 100% of the time when they're out in 11 personnel.
Yeah. The return of Gardner Johnson and Deline give them that option that I don't think they necessarily had before.
Yeah.
And if you have a guy like Gardner Johnson and you drop him into the slot and you keep Iffy and Kirby back and you drop Gardner Johnson in the slot and then you have Branch in the other slot. Gardner Johnson and Branch can essentially work like linebackers in a lot of ways because they're both very good run defenders. They're both aggressive. They both hit bigger than their bodies. And so I'm very curious if they could install that defense that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Because they have the bodies. They absolutely have the bodies. And I would rather see Brian Branch on the field than Jack Campbell right now. And Jack's been playing great. Probably plays best game of the year, right?
Yeah.
And Derek Barnes has been playing great against the run. But I think you can go. If I'm Aaron Glenn, I'm considering a platoon between Barnes and Campbell, leaving Anzalone out there, and dropping CJ GJ and Branch in the slot, and then alternating who covers and who's the linebacker. And if they just stick to sides and they pass off with motion, whatever, those two guys are so good at being that. And we didn't even see Gardner Johnson really in the slot. That's honest. Yeah. The fact that they didn't even try him makes me wonder if they were disguising him. At the same time, maybe they've really been focusing Branch on the slot. But he doesn't, the matchup against these like quick, fast receivers isn't always his best.
Yeah.
So I would love to see dime sets and use Branch and CJGJ as third linebackers, essentially.
Yeah,
and just
box defenders.
And get your best athletes out on the field and try and match that offense because I think both of those guys are good enough against the run that you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And obviously the answer isn't just do this 100% of the time, just do that 100% of the time. Like, but yeah, I think the lines would be wise because you're right. CJ Gardner-Johnson is an excellent run defender. And I mean, half the reason he got injured in that Seahawks game was because of how aggressive he played in the box. And so, yeah, I mean, he also led the league in interceptions last year, so he's a good pass defender too. So we can't forget the whole package that is CJ Gardner-Johnson and the fact that he has strengths in both aspects of the game. But let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to answer more of your questions here about Lions, Rams, NFC Wild Card Edition Sunday night, whatever other qualifiers you want to throw in there. Exciting times ahead. We will be right back on the Midweek Mailbag. Okay. We are back. We'll answer some of your guys' questions, some of our live audience for a little bit. We do have a little bit of a hard out at 1:00. But I mean, that leaves us plenty of time. We got 90 minutes still, and we only got about 20 minutes left of podcast to record. So by my math, that gives you guys 70 minutes of us.
Oof. Spoiled.
In the meantime, while you guys send in your questions either from YouTube or Twitch, I will go through a whole bunch of alerts here, including AP Rambo with the 37-month subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. MJ Lee, 18-month subscribe to the channel, says, Go Blue. Go Blue. Slim Quick, 19-month subscribe to the channel, says, Bring my dad to our first playoff game on Sunday. The Lions are creating lifelong memories this season, win or lose. FTR, though. Yeah, man, it's going to be wild. I hope the Lions can get out to a fast start in that game, just so that the crowd like immediately into it and going crazy. Certainly seems like if the Lions win the toss, they're going to take the ball. I think that strategy is here to stay at this point, which certainly makes a whole lot of sense. Caitlin Rose, 5-month subscribe to the channel, says, I am so hype and also so anxious. Different kind of ulcers this week. That's right. The phrase that I'm going to carry with me thanks to Arif Hassan. The ulcers are different now.
Quick on the last part about talking about the energy at Ford Field.
Mm-hmm.
I've been collecting the power rankings as they come in. They're just really slow today.
Yeah.
But Erik Edholm from NFL Network, his last line of the power ranking is, if Ford Field isn't buzzing with absolutely nuclear grade energy before kickoff, I'll be stunned.
Right.
He's right. I agree.
I mean, look at the price of tickets. That's all you need to know. is that
Yeah.
you can't get inside the building without spending $500 right now. It's insane.
Yeah.
I feel bad because like so many fans have been waiting for this moment in particular to like, I'm going to finally watch a Lions playoff game for the first time in my life, and like, of course the tickets are going to be ridiculously priced because everyone else is in that same boat too.
Yeah.
But I don't love seeing like, not to get all like blue collar Detroit thing, but like I hate seeing the, working class family getting priced out of what a lot of these fans, while maybe some of the more casual fans that might have more spending money, have not gone through all the tough years like we have. They don't have the money to get in there now. I don't know. This is borderline class warfare, and I don't want to get into that, but
Well, look, my girls went to their first Lions game last week because the prices were as low as they've been the whole season
right.
for that Week 18 game. And I think because people are, I wouldn't be surprised if people were selling those tickets because they're trying to keep the money to compensate for the playoff game. I've also heard people tell me that what they're selling their tickets for are like, if I get what I'm asking for, it covers my season type of thing.
Right.
Like it's crazy. Like, so like, I know there's people that it's, financials are tricky business, but I think regardless, it's going to be a fun experience to enjoy no matter what.
And it sounds like the Lions are pulling out some fun stuff to improve the line. I mean, one thing they did last game, or two things they did last game, they handed everyone the third down things, which
the lower bowl,
the entire lower bowl got the little third down placards or whatever you want to call them, which it looked really cool. I still don't love them because they don't make noise. They just block people's vision, which, I mean, I don't know, like that doesn't give you any sort of home field advantage to me. If I'm the opposite team, the fact that the crowd is waving a number, I'm not even paying attention to that. I'm not looking at that. But yes, it did look cool from like watching it from above.
So you want the Thunder Six? That's what you want?
Personally, as someone who sits in the fan, when I sit in the stands as a fan, hate them. If I'm up there and I just want it to be loud in there, yeah, give me Thunder Sticks. I don't care. Thunder Sticks and I don't know, just give everyone a megaphone. Can we do that?
Air horns.
Just everyone has an air horn under their seat when they get there.
Sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. I'm sure Rocket Mortgage could afford that, right? Like they could come up with personal. Everyone gets their own little mini personal air horn. It's a giveaway. The first 60,000 fans get one.
Now we're talking. Now we're the ideas guy. Anyways, Mike Mist, thank you for the 3-month subscribe to the channel. Says, let's go! Junk Drunk, 23 months subscribe to the channel. Allstead, 7 months subscribe to the channel. Says, Jeremy, I love you, but I almost had to block you for my mental health after that DVOA comparison post. I'm sorry. I won't show it on stream, but if you want to see...
All right, well, here's the deal.
Uh-huh.
If you thought the playoffs were going to be easy, then you haven't experienced the playoffs. Like, and I know it's been 30 years, since we've seen a home game, and I know it's been half a decade since we've played in one, but like, it's going to be hard. Like that's part of it. And that's why Dan Campbell started this week out talking about the fact that this is what this team is built on. And that's what I keep going back to. Like, yes, the Rams are a hot team, but this team, this Lions team, is built on adversity. Like the stuff that they've had to overcome in the trials and tribulations and the mantra of like, this team hasn't done it in so long that they're just like, that Dan Campbell started hammering down their throat at the beginning of every season, and that gets reinforced. It's plastered on the wall. Like this is a we need to overcome and we need to battle. And they have done that consistently. So yeah, of course this isn't going to be easy. Revenge is not easy. Exercising demons is not easy, but this is how you do it. And this is how you get better. And this is how you become legends.
It's true. I I will say, though, that it does seem weird and unfair that I would argue the 4 and the 5 seed are both worse than the 6 and the 7 seed.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Brad Allen. Right? Like,
well, that wouldn't have changed anything. Because the lines would then
well,
display.
the
Right. But I'm saying the 6
17's not good either.
No, that's not true.
No, it is true.
But that's okay. I would have rather faced the Packers than the Rams. Although I'll tell you what, I could not find myself cheering for the Packers at the end of that game. I'm like, I still want the Bears to beat them.
Oh, here's my favorite thing about this last weekend is that I said, I don't want the Rams. And you said, I don't want the Packers to make the playoffs. And neither of us got what we wanted, right? Like there were 3 possible outcomes.
You're right.
There were 3 possible outcomes and neither of us got
picked
the one
2
we
of
wanted.
them.
Those sons of...
Yeah. That was kind of so I wasn't being a good journalist in that I didn't have everything pre-written before the end of those games. So I was pre-writing as the games were ending. And I was pretty sure for a while that the Rams were going to lose that game. They were down by 7, right? And the Packers were clearly going to win that game. And so I wrote 300 words on Lions versus Packers wild card round. Here's the tale. And then I didn't even see the Rams score and go for 2, and I flip over. I'm like, oh crap! They're probably gonna. I know there's 6 minutes left in this game, but they're gonna probably win. And so I spent the next 10 minutes writing another 300 words on the Rams being the first round opponent, and that was much easier to write because narratives. So then I just for the last 2 minutes of each game, I just sat there figuring out which half of the story I was gonna delete. It's very fun. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I can't stop fantasizing about the scenario of the Lions winning this game and the Packers winning their game. Because that sets up, in my mind, nothing's a free ride in the NFL, certainly not in the playoffs. But in my mind, that punches the Lions tickets to the NFC Championship game. There is no doubt in my mind that if the Eagles or if the Bucks are coming to Ford Field after the Lions just won their first playoff game in 32 years, Lions are going to crush them. Going to crush them. And then we're talking deep playoff, we're in it. Deep playoff runs. NFC champ, 1 game away from the Super Bowl. And so as soon as I realized that, it was yesterday, it was just wait a second. If the Packers beat the Cowboys, which I'm gonna throw out there, 100% possible. I shouldn't say 100%, very possible. I think the Packers are playing really good football. I think the Cowboys aren't necessarily as good as they look. That's going to be a shootout as well. And if the Packers win that game, they face the 49ers. And that's why the annoyance of rooting for the Packers is fine. Because then they're going to have to run into the behemoth that is the 49ers. And there are, if you want to talk about exorcising ghosts and demons, the Packers have been knocked out by the 49ers over and over and over again. They are terrified of that game. And so, yeah, I'll gladly, get your hopes up. Get your hope up with a wild card win, a big, huge upset over the Cowboys. Make the Cowboys sad in the process. That's good for me, too. And then get creamed by a 49ers team that has had your number for decades. Erik, I can't stop thinking about that. I can't stop thinking about how that would be the most ideal possible scenario. Immediately that erases any sort of Brad Allen thing because the Lions essentially then have the 2 seed. They have the second highest seed in the division after that, in the conference after that. And you've now set yourself up with the best possible second round. You are in a better position, in my opinion, than the 49ers at that point. Because again, I think the Packers are better than both the 4 and the 5 seed. Make it happen. What? I will sell my soul to whoever wants it to make that happen.
Arif. I don't know if I think the Packers can win. Now, I think there's a possibility that they can win. But I think Dallas is going to be a juggernaut. And that's okay with me too. because I don't mind going back in there a second time and righting the wrongs that happened 2 weeks ago. This is again, I'm going back to the same thing. If you want to be the team that you are, or that you can be, that you think you are, that you've been working towards, set up those big bullies in front of you and punch them in the mouth. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
but also
it's not the easiest road. It's not the easiest road.
Yeah.
But if you can beat Rams and then at Dallas, my goodness,
you can beat anybody.
It's a narrative changing. Again, we talked last year in Week 18 about beating the Packers, changing the narrative completely on this team. Here we are a year later, and we're faced with another situation, and possibly two of them.
Yeah, I'm not a narrative guy though. Give me the easy route. Give me the cakewalk to the NFC Championship game. I don't care about exercising demons. I don't care about revenge for Brad Allen. I don't care about kicking the Packers' ass again. I don't care about any of that.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be revenge for Brad Allen. It's just this is not the Cowboys Lions is not just a Brad Allen. Brad Allen is a blip on the radar of the Cowboys ridiculousness. Like, you got to play at Dallas in 2024.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because of the way this schedule works out.
Yep. And you play the Rams at home again as well.
Super.
Mm-hmm.
Set the precedence now. Here's your opportunity. Like, that Packers game last year in Week 18 told me everything that I needed to know about this regime, this coaching staff, and I'm not scared of however big the giant is in front of you. I know that Stafford is probably the worst quarterback to face going into this week. He is. It's the worst situation, which is why I didn't want to see it. But now that it's there, make it count.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you are professed to be a true contender, a Super Bowl contender, at some point you're going to run into a behemoth and you're going to have to run him over. I prefer it to happen in the conference championship game, but it's inevitable. At some point it has to happen. And I'm with you. Like, would have been nice not to have one of the best quarterbacks in football over the past couple months coming to Detroit. Certainly one that is going to bring a lot of emotions for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people looked at this season and said, we don't need to win a title, but give me a playoff win. Give me that. Knock that record off so that we don't have this drought going. And so it's not the easiest route for that, sadly. The Lions needed to finish with a much worse record in order to get an easier route going against a Matt Patricia-led defense. They should have just lost more games. Maybe they should have rested their starters for the last, 3 weeks. Sorry. Sorry.
Like, that is a theme in the power rankings article that I'm noticing.
Oh, that just Matt Patricia shouldn't.
No. The resting the start. That's a constant. The Matt Patricia thing.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think Matt Patricia will coach again in the NFL?
Yes, and that team will fail miserably.
Okay.
The fact that the Patriots were like, yeah, I guess we'll put you on offense, and then they were like, okay, goodbye.
Right.
That should have told you everything you needed to know, Philly.
Right.
And then, have they won a game since he's been defensive coordinator?
I think they may have won one.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
It definitely wasn't because of his defense.
No, I mean, that's the thing, though. If the Patriots won't take you back anymore,
that's the thing. It should have been clear as day.
Like, how can anyone justify it?
The Eagles did.
They did. But
man, does it look dumb. I mean, that's why people are like, this coaching staff should be fired because they're making decisions like that. Like,
I mean, I realized that defense was in a desperate spot. They made a move because they were already really, really, really bad.
yeah, but
But
like look, the Eagles are
hiring him in the first place.
The Eagles are in a bad way, like because they got an aging defense and a lot of money invested and no coach, and it's, I don't know, man. The Eagles are still really good.
Yeah,
like they have the potential to be really good, but man, their the decision making is still the worst decision making as a coach. Like, it's just the same stuff recycled that like everybody knows. They're like, why are you calling this play? Why are you calling cover one when you should be calling prevent? Why are you blitzing a safety at an edge position when you should be like on the goal line? Like, there's just baffling decisions. So, whatever.
You reap what you sow, Eagles.
He's a disaster. Like, no one thought that was a good idea, right? Like, no one. There's no like. I mean, I didn't read any of the Eagles writers stuff or anything like that. But when he was hired, was anyone like, oh, this is the missing piece? There was no. I mean,
clearly not.
I can't imagine, right?
Well, no, there's no shot. I mean, he was coming off of not only his terrible run here in Detroit, but he's coming off of just an absolute disaster in New England as the offensive coordinator. And I know they tried to scapegoat, was it Bill O'Brien who was there too?
Well, there was Judge and him that were doing the
Judge.
Like, yeah, but it was like, hey, my special teams coordinator and my former special teams coordinator, former defensive coordinator are now going to call offense. Like,
yeah. No, it was a disaster.
I don't understand New England either. Like the last couple of years because of decisions like this.
I think Troy Brown, the receiver who played a little bit of cornerback for them, remember back in the day? I think it was Troy Brown. I think I have the right person. But they had that one guy who was a receiver, and they're like, go play corner for us. We were injured. And it worked for a while. I think they take that approach to everything. And some people are just better at other things than everything.
I don't know. It worked for so long trying different things. And it's like the game has caught up to him. Belichick.
Yeah.
I'm talking about. And like, I think Belichick is arguably a top 3 coach of all time in the NFL, right? He might even be the best coach of all time.
Yeah.
But like, time catches you, and if you can't adjust, like that was his signature was his ability to adjust.
Yep.
And it just doesn't seem to be there. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're not in the playoffs, so we'll see what the heck they do if they even keep him as a coach, which would be even more ridiculous.
True. So. All right, let me get through the rest of these alerts, and then we'll answer some of your guys' questions. I know we just got off on a tangent there. Big Al, 40 months subscribed to the channel, says, let's make Matthew uncomfortable in his return. Amen to that. Nick 300 bits says, Dave Tepper thinks he can do a hostile takeover of Ben Johnson.
We had this discussion after we recorded the PODD this week. And I think I think if he throws enough money at Ben, as terrible of a job as that is, as much as I don't want Ben to go there, if he throws enough money at him, it would be hard to turn down. Because if he's actually offering him like 15 million a year on a 5-year deal with like coaches' contracts being guaranteed, how do you turn that down? It's terrible. You get fired. Just go there, get fired, make $75 million, and then get an OC job somewhere else.
But if they,
I would hate it. I would hate it. Except I would be happy for Ben's pocketbook.
Listen,
but
I can't sit here and say what Ben Johnson should do financially for his best interests. But if someone is going to spend $15 million a year on you, even someone as dumb as Dave Tepper, I don't think he's going to give up after a year or two like he has recently.
No, I don't either.
And that means you're stuck under him for at least 3 years, which is a bad career move. A really bad career move.
Yeah, but Ben is, it's not like, I still think Ben's going to he would get rehired after that, because people are going to look at that and be like, it's a disaster. And the NFL, all the NFL does is retread guys. Like they just take especially young guys, especially young offensive minds. Like those guys always get second chances. We literally just talked about Matt Patricia getting chance after chance after chance after chance. You don't think that, right? Like,
sure, but that's a bad example because it didn't work. That guy's career's been in the shitter.
Well, I'm just pointing out that
a bad coach like him can still get jobs.
Yeah, the NFL is as much as we think that it is this like a massive, vast coaching, sphere.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of, it's like, I know this guy from this situation. And so the guys hang around because they know how to do it. It's a devil versus devil you don't type of thing sometimes when it comes to hiring these guys. And then you give them opportunities and then it's just, I don't want Ben to go there. Let me be 100% clear on that. I want him to be.
That's all I want. Just have some self-respect, Ben Johnson.
But you have to keep in mind, he's from Carolina. He went to the University of North Carolina where he was a quarterback. Like this, he would be going home and making ungodly money, and I would understand it. I would hate it. But I would understand it.
Don't do it, Ben. Don't do it, Ben. I know you're watching. Don't do it.
Oh, I wouldn't do it either. I mean,
and plus, you get to a certain point. What's the difference between $25 million and $75 million? Yes, $50 million. I understand.
Three times more.
Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Listen, you'll be able to live extremely comfortably under $25 million. It's fine. Nick, we already said that. Oh, another one from Nick Theory says, any truth to the rumor that Matthew Stafford left Detroit after Kelly kept contemplating Jeremy Reisman's bushy Tom Selleck mustache and repeatedly told him he has a nice mouth? Jesus. No truth to that rumor. Nick, Ryan, Toledo, Detroit. 17 months subscribed to the channel, says the biggest mismatch in this game is game management by coaching, advantage Lions. Second is special teams, advantage Lions. Get ready for special teams. Love, Jeremy.
Yeah, we didn't talk about special teams.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Well,
they don't matter.
Do you know what the Rams special teams TBO rank
is? It 32nd? Of course I know that.
Of course. I'm not sure if everyone else knew it, so that's why I was trying to set that up for them. Do you know why it's 32nd?
They've given up 2 punt return touchdowns. They don't have a kicker that they trust. They only get touchbacks on the kickoffs. Pretty much that. I think they've had a punt blocked as well.
So I know you hate special teams, and I know you say special teams don't matter, and I get that. At the same time, if you can't kick an extra point, those points matter. Like,
sure.
They come into play.
The Lions have missed 2 extra points in the past 3 weeks.
I understand. So if you're playing a team that also misses them, hey, it's much better to have that other team missing points too. So well, I'm with Ryan.
Of course you are.
Ryan here. Like I think
you obsess over special teams.
No. I don't obsess over special teams.
The Lions are missing their really good punt returner, almost certainly.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Well, they have 2 other ones that they haven't needed to lean on recently.
Oh,
right?
So 2 guys that haven't done it in at least a calendar year?
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Donovan Peoples-Jones has done it in a calendar year. He did it with the Browns.
This year?
He's done it. I thought he did.
Maybe.
And if he didn't, he's done it recently, and he's done it for a long time. Like it's not like this is just some new thing to him. Okay. Peoples-Jones he can do it. So I'm okay with him. He's not Khalif. He's not going to be able to
he did do
the
it.
stuff that Khalif was doing last game was impressive. Like the hesitation, block setting up, it was great.
A whopping 6.5 yards per return this year.
Hey, can he field it and not fumble it? Yes.
Oh,
that's what I want.
So
That's what I want.
this is the big special teams edge that you're talking about, is fair catching punts. Okay,
Have you not?
I watched the Michigan game. I watched the Michigan game last night, and I was irate over what was happening.
This game is going to come down to minor details.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to possessing the ball, not turning it over, doing the new. You don't have to be electric on special teams. You just need to do your job.
Right.
And if they can do their job and the Rams don't do their job, that's an advantage. And those advantages add up. It's going to be a factor, in my opinion. And we're going to be sitting there next to each other, shoulder to shoulder in the press box. And something's going to happen where the Rams make a mistake on special teams. And I'm going to turn to my left and I'm just going to stare at you, and you are going to ignore me, and I'm just going to stare, and you are going to ignore, and it's just going to go on for about a minute.
Or what's going to happen is what happens in 95% of games, which is nothing notable happens on special teams, and we don't talk about it the entire game.
All right, well, I don't think that's going to happen. Who is the worst field goal kicker? It's definitely the Rams. The Rams just cut a guy and signed a new one because they can't find one. And now they have Mar. Yeah, they just so yes, the Lions have had a competition, picked a guy that they liked who was doing better, and he's, other than missing 2 extra points, he's been okay. And okay is better than, hey, I just signed this guy out the street. So yes.
Great.
I'm telling you, there's going to be some play, and you're going to be so mad. You're going to be so mad. You won't even turn to acknowledge me. I'm waiting for it.
Sure. Just like people every game are waiting for a successful flea flicker to happen. But you know what? We all saw what happened when the Vikings tried last week. They had a wide open receiver and he didn't catch it.
Well, I'm not,
because it's a risky play.
I'm not out here, pounding the table for flea flickers. I'm talking about something that happens, 8 times a game. They don't throw 8 flea flickers a game.
No,
but they have like 8 to 12 special teams plays a game.
Yeah, but notable ones are like 1 a game, if that.
Great. Give me that one.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, the fact that they are the 32nd ranked special teams means there might be 1 play that goes in the Lions' favor.
Dude, if you don't, we have been talking about how this game is going to be tight.
Sure.
And if you're telling me you're going to win you're going to win 1 more play than they do in this area, great. I want it, because those are going to add up and those are going to matter.
No, you're 1. They don't add up. There's only 1, Eric.
No, but you're going to win other areas too. And then that's my point. If you don't think one play can change an entire game,
it surely can. But I'm saying the probability is that play comes on any other aspect of the game.
Sure. So give me the advantage in this area, right? Like, you can't just dismiss it because it's not in the area that you like. What you're saying is it can come anywhere. So give me that opportunity, but it can happen at any time.
Here's the other ugly truth, Eric, is that the Lions are not very good on special teams right now either. They don't have a kicker they can trust. They don't have their punt returner. They don't have anything available on special teams. They're going to be trying out someone punt returning who hasn't done it for this team all year.
Now you got the caveat for this team, right?
Am I wrong?
They haven't needed to because they have it all pro. They have
right, and they won't this game.
Punt returner, and they're still going to be okay. Like, they'd be even better if they had him.
How do you know
that? Blind confidence, statistics,
okay, there you
looking
go.
at the numbers, like
the numbers.
The numbers say
21st in NFL and in
13 or 19th. 19th in DVOA.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, though. I want every advantage I can get. And this is another one, whether you refuse to acknowledge that 12 plays exist or not.
This much of an advantage.
I don't care.
I'll take every little advantage too, but I think we're blowing up this oh, Rams 32nd in special teams. Here we go. We're going to win the game on special. No, relax.
You I get.
We're both just going to dig our heels in deeper,
yes,
and then each of us are going to do a victory lap no matter whatever happens on Sunday.
I get that, like 98% or 95, whatever, 98 fine, of special teams plays are about doing your job.
Yeah,
but that one can be a massive difference, and I am not turning down any opportunities. I want every nickel and dime to beat them.
I'm not saying I don't.
I'll take the script.
You're arguing that I don't want the Lions to have a special team advantage. Of course I do, but I'm just saying.
No, but you're saying it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, minuscule or not. Give me it. I want that little advantage, because those little, I want all those little advantages. I'm gonna pick up all those breadcrumbs. I'm gonna smush them together, and I'm gonna have a smush ball of bread, and you're just gonna be like, "Well, I didn't think it was worth it to pick up those crumbs. Give me those crumbs."
No, that's not.
Let
what
me
I'm
eat.
saying at all.
Let me eat.
All right,
this little special teams crumb is this.
Chat wants it. I know you're all gonna vote for Erik. It's fine, but there's a poll. There you go. Pick which side of the special teams argument you're on. Oh, you guys are picking the one that's more optimistic about the Lions? Shocking. While you guys vote for Erik, I'm going to read off the rest of the alerts.
Oh, yes, I apologize for ranting. I thought we were done with those. I apologize.
Woodchuck Hunter, thank you for the 100 bits. Says Harbaugh to the Bears, JJ McCarthy, #1 overall pick, make it happen. McCarthy had like 130 yards and no touchdowns in that game. And it was
a little more. I thought he went a little more.
It was
only 130. Wow. Okay.
No, it might have been more, but it wasn't. Definitely wasn't 200. Steel Hank Reardon, 21 months, says this is how you get over next. We're going to the same wedding, and we're bringing a date who is way hotter. Let's do this. Stafford can pound sand. 100 bits. This is a really long one from Nick the Greek, and I'm just going to plunge into it, and if I regret it, I'll end up regretting it. Breaking. SB Nation's internal traffic metrics just leaked, and they reveal that female viewership nearly doubles 2 weeks into November. Female focus groups reported that Jeremy Rice's mustache is, quote, reassuring and alleviates concerns that the flagship POD cast is a, quote, soy podcast. 8 of 10 members of the focus group also reported substantial interest in Erik donning his Ed Hercules costume on Halloween to kick off, quote, Macho Man Movember.
When it was Halloween time and we pulled the costumes up out of the basement, I saw the Hercules one sitting at the bottom, and I was like, Laura, I should get that. And the look she gave me was like embarrassing for me. Like how she was like the commercial with the lady who's just like, yeah, that ain't gonna fit.
Yeah.
Right. Like that was the look I got. Like, and she was like, come on. So I was like, well, maybe I can just like get it over just from this. Just need the ref outfit to fit this right here, right?
By the way, 83% of the people are Team Erik on special teams, which just goes to show you that, you know,
audience is smart.
Yeah, it's not exactly what I was going to say.
No, that's right. That's right. Well, that's
sure.
All right. Audience is smart.
RC Vader, thank you for the 23 month subscribe channel. Sounds like Brock should be back. If he is 100%. We should be good, as he is the best run blocking tight end. I would agree with that. Run game should be better.
Certainly help.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Brock is not. No one is Laporta, right? Like, I mean, the record book shows that.
Yeah.
But I think Brock is sneaky underrated.
He's okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's okay. Look, that James Mitchell catch, that had me. That got my ears up. When I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, looks like."
I agree.
I even talked to him I talked to him after about it. I was like, "That looked like pre-injury Vatek James Mitchell. And he was like, yeah, he's like starting to feel it. And I was like, all right,
Hey.
let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where he can go.
Yeah.
Because I think I think some of these guys that have kind of flown in roles, there's going to be opportunities for them to, like, you know, Derek Barnes their situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Like, he's very much on a Derek Barnes and Fatu Melifonwu track right now where, like, especially iffy because injuries, right? Like, injuries have just not given this guy a lot of time on task. And I think if there is a silver lining to the injury to Sam Laporta, it was that he got more time on task. He got to get his feet a little wet. He got to show what he can do in a increased role, and it wasn't bad. I think he still has a long way to go as a blocker and all those things, which is what we knew when we were drafting him anyways. Like that was always kind of the unpolished part of his game. But if he can provide a little spark in the receiving game, that's going to be his role. I don't think they're going to put Brock Wright in the Sam Laporta role.
Fun fact, James Mitchell has caught every target thrown his way.
In his career. Is he like 9 for 9 or something?
In his career. I think he's 10 for 10.
There you go.
And he has one touchdown. That was the game winner against the Packers in week 9 in 2022, which was the game that started the catalyst change, and Lions have gone on to an impressive streak since. You could argue James Mitchell is really the one who made this happen, right?
He didn't catch the 2-point conversion. That technically does not count as an incomplete pass, so.
That's correct. He is a 13 of 13, by the way.
Wow, okay.
13 of 13 for 141 yards and a touchdown.
All right, we're almost through the alerts. Unhappy Times, thank you for the 9-month subscribe to the channel. It says Sewell for president. I'd vote. The Trevor Van, I never know which way I'm supposed to say it. Thank you for the 27-month subscribe to the channel. It says, who's got it better than us?
Nobody.
I'll take it. Sammy Boys, 15-month subscribe to the channel, says, excited and nervous for Sunday. Go Lions. I think that adequately explains all of us except for Erik, who is just... Your wife sometimes says it to me. It's just like, I don't know how he manages to stay ridiculously confident in the face of everything contrary.
Because
she was texting me during the semifinals game, the Michigan semifinals. Just like, I don't know how you boys do it. Like, I'm so scared right now, and it's overtime, and she's just like, I don't know how you guys do it. And I told her, like, I don't. I am a ball of anxiety. I don't during games, my extremities get cold. My fingers get cold. I didn't even know that was a symptom of stress. And you're just sitting there. I don't know if you're actually cool as a cucumber, but you act like it.
Well, you know what? I've gone through, the way I view it is, I always look at it as this is an opportunity to be a hero, right? I know the easy route, and like when the kicker comes up to kick a game-winning field goal.
Yeah,
Laura covers her eyes and she's like, "I feel so bad for him. I feel so bad for him. I feel so bad for him." And I'm like, "No,
this is his chance to be a hero.
This is a chance to be like elevated into the realms here. Like this is a great opportunity."
Yeah.
When Michigan was in overtime against Alabama, and I was like, this is it. This is Blake Corum's opportunity. And then he gets that run and I'm like, it's a hero. I even tweeted out. I quote tweeted the video, and I was like, this is hero. This was him being a hero. Like, that's what it is.
Can I have your permission to read her texts?
Yeah, I don't care. It's fine.
Okay, so this is literally in overtime of Michigan, Alabama. Forgive the language. How do you sit next to this turd during close games? I'm over here covering my face, my stomach hurts, and there's a 98.7% chance of me throwing up. And he's just like, kids, chance to be a hero. This is exciting. I hate him. And my response was, I can't even hear Erik over my own anxiety. Which is true.
That's how it is.
I generally block you out when it's a close game. Like, you're saying things, and then you're just like, whoop, going right over my head.
I know. I can tell. I'm going to keep saying them, though. I just... My whole perspective on this is just opportunity, right? Like, it's all in front of them.
I mean, players have to have your mindset. I am not cut out to be a professional athlete. Yeah. I mean, physically, mentally, nothing about it. But yeah, like, you have to have that mindset of, I want to be in these big moments. I want to step up and make a play. I want to be. Yeah. Pressure is my friend.
I always wanted the ball. Like, I always that's always been it. I mean, I didn't always do what I needed to do to get wins and stuff, but like, I always wanted the opportunity. And when I look at this team, that's what I see. I see this is a team that when they have an opportunity, they grab it.
Yeah.
And that's why my confidence in them is high. It's as high as it's been. And I think here they are again. That's why I'm talking about exercising demons, and like it's there. It's sees it. I think they can.
It's quite literally the first time ever they're in a win or die situation.
Yeah, we were planning our end of year articles, because I normally write a big end of year article that takes me a couple weeks to put together. And I forgot to even start writing it because we haven't been, this is a different situation. It's new territory for us, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, man, it's just not knowing what's next is it's stressful for my OCD, but it's also like very exciting for the fan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Old Wolf says and says, hey, I'll just think of it this way. We're playing with house money, so no reason to anxious. Use that nervous energy. Can be fun. I'd feel that way if they were playing someone other than the Rams. Because in general, that is kind of the outlook I have. It's like, I am not going to be devastated if this team loses in the first round, because I know they're still headed in the right direction. This was still a largely successful season. It was still a lot of fun. And I don't think, like, if you were to ask me right now, do I think this team is good enough to win the Super Bowl? My answer is probably no. I don't think this is the year that happens. So it won't completely rip my heart out. But the fact that it's Matthew Stafford now, the fact that there are all sorts of other narratives attributed to it, there's the fact that if they lose this game, there will be people out there, Lions fans, who say, same old Lions, they couldn't get it done, they didn't, blah, blah, blah. That's the part that fuels my anxiety, is I want to avoid that universe as much as possible. It has nothing to do with my own feelings of the team.
Sure.
Nothing to do with my own feelings of the team, because I'm going to sit here now, and I'm going to sit here after Sunday's game and tell you, I believe in the future of this franchise. Nothing that happens between now and then will change my mind. But it's going to be a really annoying couple of months if they lose to Matthew Stafford.
No, certainly.
Really annoying.
Certainly. Like, and I have that same thought in the back of my head that I don't want to, I have to deal with that, right? Because,
I shouldn't, Old Wolf. I shouldn't. But unfortunately, my job is to interact with Lions fans. It's unavoidable. If the Lions here's like the double-edged sword of the Lions crushing the Rams 43-20 is like, one, you've done everything that I think everyone had an expectation for this year. You've accomplished all of your goals. Now everything literally is house money. The double-edged sword is, if we can crush the Rams, we can win the damn Super Bowl. And now like the goalposts immediately shift. We're
always going to shift.
Of course. That's the fun and the anxiety, and that's why the ulcers are news, because now it's not about when are we ever going to be a good team. It's like, when are we ever going to take the next step, and then take the next step, and then take the next step, and then win 2 Super Bowls, and then win 3 Super Bowls. Like, it never stops. We like to think like once the Lions have a Super Bowl, everyone has the T-shirt to say, "Just give me one before I die." But I'm telling you, when that one comes, you're not going to be satiated come next December. You're going to be like, "All right, give me another one. We're good enough."
Well, I feel like that expectation's always going to be there. Like it's
Right.
like they're at a point now where the expectation is always going to be playoffs every year. You know what I mean? Now, like that's fine. That's fine. That's a good organization. That should be the expectation, right? And that's what we're seeing in front of us right now is a good organization. So my concern is I hope they get the recognition for what they're doing. And because I think it's really easy for them to be dismissed
Sure.
by the national media, right? For example, I happened to open Twitter on my phone and it defaults to that For You page, right?
Yeah.
And the first tweet at the top of the For You page when I happened to open up on my phone was Dan Orlovsky's MVP Coach of the Year votes that he was submitting.
Yeah.
And Dan Campbell was not in his Coach of the Year, first, second, or third.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I feel like people are overlooking what he has done, right? Like because he got momentum at the end of last season, the expectation was for them to be good, and therefore, he met expectations and didn't exceed them, and therefore he shouldn't be Coach of the Year. Bullshit. Bullshit. Like he has done something that this organization hasn't done in 30 years. He has 12-win season. That's a tying a franchise record. Like when you step back and actually look at what this team has accomplished and what Dan has led them to think that he's not the Coach of the Year is mind-boggling to me. Or to at least think that he's not even in the conversation of the top. He had Sean McVay as 3. Piss off. This was a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they had a down year because they were terrible and they had injuries and stuff. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're on a hot streak, so let's give him coach. Get out. Just get out. I don't. But this is what I get pissed off about is that this team has accomplished, and this is why I don't like the Rams coming in, because this team needs the recognition. I'm bringing it back. This team deserves the recognition for what they've accomplished. This coaching staff deserves what they've accomplished. The front office deserves what they've gotten, right? And that's going to get lost because they've been good. And that's going to get lost on some fans because they've been good. If you step back and you look at where they are and what they've accomplished and where they're heading, I think you'll be very satisfied. And I agree with you in the fact that regardless of what happens at the end after this Sunday, I'm still going to have a very optimistic outlook on where this organization is. But that's not always going to be the national narrative, and that's not going to be what some fans are doing. But I'm with you, and I'm going to double down on this because this team is young. They have draft capital. They're going to have salary cap space. Yeah. They're going to retain a ton of the potential that they have, and they're going to have all of the front office and coaching staff. I'm upsetting myself now, and I'm getting my cough back. This is a organization that is headed in the right direction. And even if they lose, that's going to be okay. Whenever it is that they lose, if they lose, maybe they keep winning and they win all the way through February. Who cares? That'd be awesome. But if they lose, that's going to be okay when it happens because this organization is still on the right trajectory. And national narratives are not. The national narratives is they don't look at it that way. Exactly. It's Sean McVay has done a nice job coaching, and they've beat juggernauts such as the Saints, Giants, and Cardinals over the last few weeks. So they're great. Stop it.
Okay.
Stop it.
Let me jump in here for a second, because to me, Coach of the Year is I hate that award more than any other because people attribute different meanings to it, right? Like some people,
it's like anything.
Some people want to just give it.
We have the same problem on our staff.
Some people just want to give it to the coach of the best team, which makes sense. You're very like, why hasn't Andy Reid won it in a while? Some people want to give it to the team that is overperformed based on preseason expectations. Some people want to look at how they've built over, like, the best argument you can make for Dan Campbell is that this is not just a 2023 award for him. This is a 3-year award for him. This is him taking the foundations of a team that was in crumbles in 2021, slowly building them up, taking a very meticulous and patient approach with the roster, with his coaching, with all of that, and it culminates this year in the first division title in 30 years, the first home playoff game in 30 years, the best franchise record in terms of wins ever. You can make a solid argument like that. But a lot of people look at this as, holy crap, everyone expected the Texans to be a 3-win team, and they made the playoffs. Give it to the
Lions
coach.
are punished. So the Lions are punished because they went on a run at the end of last year.
No one is punished. No one is
No, but
punished.
I mean, he's not.
Yes.
Dan Campbell doesn't get recognized because he did such a good job last year, at the end of last year.
That's how people look at it. And you can say that's not how you look at it. I don't think it's any less legitimate. I think you can very much make an argument for the Texans. You can very much make an argument for the Colts.
Oh, sure.
The Colts came up short, but
yeah. No, I agree with the Texans. I think that what they've done is tremendous. But like the Browns, you have the number 1 defense in the, like, come on. I know you're playing Joe Flacco, but that's because your front office is garbage. Okay. But like, come on. I don't know. I hate the narrative that can be
here's the thing,
played
like,
out.
I want to give it to Dan Campbell because it's not just about what he's done over the past 3 years. It's not just about winning like, he's actually making good decisions in games too, which is something that no one takes into mind. No one's like, well, who goes for it most on 4th down? I want to give it to them. Who makes the best in game? Who uses their timeouts the best? Who, whatever.
There's probably 1 or 2 voters.
I don't think there's no one who does that. It's looking at overall record and probably preseason win-loss over/under totals and doing the math there and saying, oh, the Browns were only expected to win 5.5 games and they're in the playoffs. Congratulations to you. The Texans were only supposed to do this. Congratulations. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to play out that way. I haven't looked at the odds. I know Campbell was the odds-on favorite for almost the entire season, but I think because the Texans turned it on, I think
Stefanski is the leader now or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, the Browns. But I hate rewarding teams for overcoming their own incompetence. Like, honestly, like, if Mike Tomlin has done a fantastic job, but Mike Tomlin has done a fantastic job every year. Like, he has consistently had a winning record for what, 18 years or whatever it is. Like,
it's ridiculous.
It's insane.
How many times has he won Coach of the Year?
I don't know. I'm sure he's won it before though. But like, give me the coaching staff that has built this team and taken them to the next level, instead of the team that's like, oh, I overpaid this guy that molested a whole bunch of people and now he's injured and now I'm overcoming that. Right? Like, come on. Like, that's ridiculous. Allegedly. Thank you for saving my allegedly.
We don't need to get Pat McAfee here. All right. Relax.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like you overpay for this guy and then he's terrible when he's healthy. And then when he gets injured, and then you have to accommodate by bringing in a veteran off the street. And then all of a sudden, like, I get that their offense is an inspiration because their offense was terrible, but you have the best defense in the league, arguably. It's either them or the Jets, and the Jets are, never going to do anything because of their quarterback situation. And so, like, it's their own fault that they're in that spot.
The other thing too is, like, some people are voting based on preseason expectations, but here's the thing. Preseason expectations are a mirage. They're not real. They're opinions. Like, so just because you thought the Texans were going to be bad and they weren't, isn't necessarily saying, wow, what a good coach. It could be like, wow, we all suck as analysts. Like, it could be as simple as that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm looking at the Texans roster and be like, you know what, that's a playoff worthy roster. But it's kind of a silly exercise in that.
I think DeMeco Ryans definitely should be in that conversation.
Sure.
Like, I think what he's done is terrific. He's taken a team that was bad enough to have 2 early picks, right? And yes, he got 2 early. He took out the 2nd and 3rd pick of the draft. That certainly helps. But like, he's a young coach who took a team that had been bad for a long time, and he's elevated them to a different level. That's great coaching. Like, you add a couple of players, it doesn't automatically make you good. You have to. He was able to take this roster and elevate. That's great coaching. I think D'Amico Ryans could arguably be. You could absolutely argue that he should be in there.
But to speak to
don't give it to a coach that is overcoming his own mistakes. Come on.
The other thing though is like, it does feel a little bit like the Texans are skipping the line, and who knows if they've got staying power, right? And so like, if you want to talk about something punishing the Lions, it's that they took the slow and methodical approach. They didn't have the year 1 turnaround, and you know, maybe that ends up benefiting the Lions more in the long run. Maybe it leads to more long-term success than a Texans team that turns around in 1 year. Of course, they also have a franchise quarterback, it looks like, and that's also a pretty big predictor for long-term success. But that to me, that's the thing. It's like, people get enamored with a 1-year turnaround and bored by a 3-year one. Simple as that. All right, I'm going to finish these alerts, I promise. Then at this point, we probably have to jump right back in. So I don't know if we answered anybody's questions. I'm so sorry. But Kevin Butler, Seymourtiz, thank you for the subscriptions over on YouTube. Damian Smith, thank you for the £2 super chatting over on YouTube. Says Green Bay over Dallas is the gateway drug to Green Bay over San Francisco. I'll take that too. Yeah. Let's have the Lions' path to the Super Bowl be Rams, Eagles, Packers. I'll take it. Bert Macklin, thank you for the first-time subscriber here on Twitch. I appreciate your username, too. Big Parks and Recs fan here. And Quirky Zerky, 100 bits, says, so in the preseason, I asked about if Goff could improve his production by 10% or as high as 5,000 yards. 5,000 was considered way too high, but the 10% bump was considered possible. What percentage bump did Goff produce this year?
Oh, I don't know.
What do you mean? By like just yardage, or you just mean like an overall? I don't know. I don't even know how many yards he finished. I know he was second in NFL yardage, right?
I don't know.
I think Tua passed him on Sunday Night Football.
Last year he was at 44.38. Now he's at 45.75 to finish the season. So that's not quite 5%. 10%. No.
But he improved his completion percentage by 2.2%, which is pretty significant.
His touchdowns went up 1. His interceptions went up 5.
Passer rating down a little bit. QBR down a little bit.
Well, that's because of the interceptions, right?
Yeah. Yards per attempt, I'm guessing, are pretty even. Yep, 7.6 and 7.6. Yeah, so whatever. I mean, let's see. 4.575 minus 4.438. So he improved by 137 yards, which by last year's total is an increase of 3%. I don't really like using yardage as a base metric. Yards per attempt is much more meaningful to me. But 7.6, 2 years in a row, that's his highest mark since his Pro Bowl years in Los Angeles, where he was 8.0 and 8.4.
And he was a Pro Bowler last year, too.
True. So he was better than his end. He's been better for the past 2 years than he was at the end of his Rams career. Not quite as
PFF,
good.
I was going to say per PFF, his overall PFF number last year was 72.4. This year it's 84.4. So that's a bump.
That's a pretty big jump.
That is the highest mark of his career. 84.4, highest of his career.
Playing his best football of his career, according to both Jared Goff and Dan Campbell and Mark Brunell and Ben Johnson.
PFF. And PFF too now.
And PFF. Only one of those impartial. All right, you ready to get... You know what? I just realized I don't even have questions lined up. I have like one or two. So, chat, throw me all of your questions right now. We're going to throw them into the second segment. I prefer them to be Rams related, but they don't have to be.
Pro Bowl.
I mean, the answer to that is Brown.
Yes.
Say Brown. I mean, it's not close.
I mean,
We don't need to get.
I agree with you, but that's how you might want to talk about it.
Pro Bowl. We just spent 15 minutes on Coach of the Year. Pro Bowl matters even less than that.
But see, we weren't talking Coach of the Year as much as we were talking about perception.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's everything.
Don't spin yourself back into this conversation, Eric. Careful. We're gonna find ourselves in another hole.
I'm just saying. All of our conversations, there's a catalyst to what we're talking about, but there's a bigger meaning to it.
I'll take that one, Arnick. I did not catch Jimmy Kimmel. I'm done with that drama. I thought about looking that up, Darth Tater, and then I'm like, you know what? I looked and saw how many 1,500-yard, 10-touchdown receiver seasons there were, and it was like 33, and I wasn't about to like click on every single one and see if they were a Pro Bowler that year.
Okay. Did you look on what'd you look?
Stathead.
What'd you look on? Yeah, but I think if you look on what's the other version of Stathead? The main one, the non-subscribed one. It's green instead of purple.
Isn't that just Pro Football Focus? Pro Football
there
Reference?
It is, thank you. Pro Football Reference.
Yeah.
I think they have like little indicators that'll tell you if they're Pro Bowl or not. I don't know if we could sort it that way or not. But
well, I'd have to pull up each of their individual each 33.
No,
profiles.
I'm saying you might be able to do it. I don't know. I'll look.
Chat says Isaac Bruce is the only one, and I'm just going to blindly believe chat because I don't want to do that research in the middle of playoffs week.
Okay, all right, great. Sounds right to me.
I think so too. Oh, Mike Rabel just got fired.
Wow.
I'm a little surprised by that one.
Yeah. Now we have to hope Ryan Day sticks around because I don't want Vrabel to go to Ohio State.
How about Vrabel for Aaron Glenn's replacement?
Hey, I'll take it. Maybe. Yes, I will.
Can you imagine Mike Vrabel and Dan Campbell in the same coaching staff? That's a lot.
Basically just be like a big ball of explosion. Right?
Yeah, but he could be. He could
former
be
player,
Patriots head coach, or Patriots defensive coordinator. How'd I feel when MCDC complimented your mustache? I don't know.
Uncomfortable.
Probably
that's how you felt.
Probably.
I wasn't. That's my assumption.
In retrospect, I wish I had some sort of clever response, but I didn't. I was taken aback, which I shouldn't be. I mean, if he does that sort of stuff all the time, where he gets asked a question, then he gets distracted by something and makes a comment like that.
He's like Dory.
A little bit. We're not helping the meathead.
No, but he personalizes so much.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, hold on. Both sides decided to move on with Mike Rabel and the Titans.
Let's hope he wants to stay in the NFL.
I'm not dyeing my mustache blue. You guys need to stop asking.
Because the lead up to that is the awful part.
Oh yeah.
The bleaching
of it. If you guys were here, I mean, I did this 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago. It was awful.
Last year, was it last year I did the blue and silver? And then the year before that was just blue? Bleaching it was the worst. And that's why it's one of the emotes. If you're a subscriber, yeah, there you go. There's the blue and the bleached mustache. So if you want to see me, what?
The bleached is like nightmare worthy.
It was not fun, let me tell you.
No, I can't imagine.
And I looked like the frickin' Lorax.
Yeah, you probably drank a few ounces as well.
Of bleach? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's miserable. Don't do it, kids. Don't bleach your mustaches.
He's smiling to cover up the real pain.
I'm smiling through the pain. That is right. All right, let me see if I can grab one more from Twitter here, and then we'll get into it. All right, we'll do this one since we talked about it a little off stream. 1 second. All right, you ready?
Do you see Kevin Clark? I clicked on Twitter for a second to see what Fowler's tweet was. Kevin Clark says the best candidate that the Titans can hire for their next head coach is Mike Vrabel.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. Which makes me believe maybe he did want out.
Maybe. All right, here we go. Back here on the midweek mailbag, closing out the show here as we get ready for Lions-Rams wild card weekend. Let's get back into the questions here. This is another one coming from Twitter, and if you always want to send us a question, you can always send it to us at any time. Hashtag it AskPOD, and we'll see it a lot easier. Anyways, Johnny on Twitter at Aces672 says, do you think Gibbs is more involved in the receiving game with the Laporta injury? Specifically on third downs, he's been kind of quiet in that regard in the past few weeks.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely explore all their opportunities. It makes a lot of sense to get Gibbs more involved. It makes sense to throw a target or two towards James Mitchell. If Brock Wright comes back, maybe get him a target. And then, they're creative in getting their receivers into the slot. And I'd like to see, how they utilize that as well. I think the biggest impact from Laporta being gone is going to be just his ability to do multiple things in one package, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something that they can replace one for one. From a target sharing standpoint, though, I do think they still have plenty of options in which they can, at the direction in which they can go.
I do find Gibbs's involvement in the passing game to be kind of a fascinating storyline this season, because I think we all thought it was going to be a little bit more of an impact this year. I mean, even if you look at the usage early in the season, he had 2 catches, 7 catches, 1 catch, 4 catches, 9 catches through his first 5 games. That takes you through the Baltimore game because he obviously missed a few in between there. But he had a 7-catch game in there. He had a 9-catch game in there. The last 6 weeks, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 0. It's just not been part of their game plan. And that's a little surprising to me. And some of it is it's getting shut down. Some of it is Sam Laporta, I think, occupying the middle of the field and getting open and being a guy that they trust. Some of it is, I think we also have to be a little bit honest with ourselves. Gibbs has dropped a few this year. He hasn't had the greatest hands. So maybe they don't view it as a necessary strength of his game, considering he's also been very good on the ground. The plan is just to get that guy the ball in open space. And they're still doing that through the run game. But it is interesting me that he hasn't had that as much of an impact in the passing game. And I think that is kind of a perceptive idea that maybe if Sam Laporta misses this game, that maybe it does open up the opportunity for a little bit more Gibbs out wide.
Yeah, if you look at his targets are typical, or his touches, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
His touches are typically between 15 and 18 type range, and they've been leaning on him in the run game, and so I think that usage in the run game has definitely impacted how much they want to use him in other avenues. And like you said, they've had plenty of other options in the slot and in the flats that they've been leaning on as well.
Yeah. I would like to see him get more involved, though. I think that is. Yeah. We know you love your Texas route. Maybe we get a Texas route this week.
Let's do it. Sign me up. Sign me up.
Next question here comes from our live audience here on Twitch. Asks from Arnick, says, what's the biggest matchup advantage you see each team having on Sunday? I think we can probably take the Rams' advantage right off the board because we all know that their passing game against the Lions' pass defense is maybe the biggest, certainly the biggest, and maybe the only real worry where the edge doesn't tilt in Detroit's favor. Is there any other part of the game you are concerned about that the Rams might have the advantage other than that major obvious one?
No, I don't think I think that's very obvious that the Rams match up better in that avenue. Yes, it's clear as day that's the biggest one. The rest of them, though, I give Detroit the slight advantage pretty much everywhere else. Lions run defense versus the Rams runs offense. I give a slight advantage to the Lions, and then flip the field. It's the same way. Running offense, I give the advantage to the Lions, and I think Lions passing offense is better than their pass defense. And so, while the focus is going to be on, winning the trenches, I do think there's opportunity though to win through the air against this team.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually might be one of their biggest advantages. If we're like trying to say I think they're all like really like good advantages. You're going to have a lot of little advantages, but if the one that's maybe a little bit better is, I don't know if they have an answer for Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
I really don't. And Goff's ability to connect with Amon-Ra has been on fire lately. Amon-Ra is highly motivated. You're going to see him as motivated as ever.
Yep.
They use a third safety in the slot, like a lot of teams are nowadays, like the Lions do.
Right.
And those slots tend to have trouble with Amon-Ra type players. And so I think the Amon-Ra is the Lions' biggest advantage.
I'm going to stay in the same vicinity there and say that it's the Lions' offensive line in terms of pass protection against the Rams' defensive line. Obviously, they have Aaron Donald. Obviously, their young rookie defensive tackle is also playing really well. But aside from that, they do not have that good of a pass rush. I know those are two very big exceptions, but Aaron Donald isn't exactly what he has always been his entire career. In terms of pressure percentage, in terms of overall sacks, this is a bottom 10 team in terms of pass rush. They also don't blitz an exorbitant amount, which is something that you don't have to necessarily be afraid of. They're right in the middle of the pack in terms of blitz percentage. And we know that the Lions can pass protect. We know that they have a fantastic offensive line. And so you have Jared Goff plus time, plus Amon-Ra means he is going to find the open spot, whether it's man-to-man coverage, whether it's zone coverage, he is going to get open. There's no question about it. And Goff plus time equals you're in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, they're 23rd in sack percentage or 30th in turnover percentage because they're not turning the ball over either.
Right.
So if you're not getting pressure, you're not getting sacks, and you're not turning the ball over, you're basically just asking for a quarterback with talent to beat you. And if you look at the quarterbacks that they faced recently, they've been chewing up yards, right?
Yeah.
Like Tyrod Taylor threw for over 300 yards against them. Derek Carr threw for over 300 yards against them, right? I mean, Tyrod's a backup to a backup at this point, right?
Yeah.
And he's thrown for 300 yards. And so they haven't faced a quarterback at Jared Goff's level, except for Lamar Jackson, and they lost to Lamar. Lamar put 37 up on him.
Yep.
Right? And then
316 and 3 touchdowns.
They're giving up 300 yards passing on almost a weekly basis, unless they happen to be facing the third quarterback.
Yep.
And even in those situations, they've still given up a ton of yards. So I look at, like you said, time plus lack of pressure plus, not getting turnovers. This could be a massive day if they get it going. And this is why I think a lot of people are looking at this saying this could be a shootout.
Yep.
This could be where both quarterbacks throw for over 350 yards type of game. You know what I mean? Like it could be, it could get out of hand quick.
Here's the thing is that I think the Lions are going, it's going to be against the Lions' nature to lean into that.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And
they're still going to want to run.
They are going to want to run. And listen, you have an opportunity to run against this team. I think they're better against the run than they are against the pass. And I get the temptation to want to slow the game down, try to not have your defense out there for a long period of time. But at some point, I think the Lions are going to have to embrace that this is probably going to be a shootout. They are going to have to throw more on first and second down than they're comfortable with. They hate doing it. They don't like doing it. But you can't give up possessions. You can't get into 3rd and 6s and more. You can't settle for 2-yard run, 2-yard run. Third and 6. And so I'd like to see them get a little. I mean, you don't have to abandon the run game. No one's asking you to do that. But just mix in a little bit more of those passes on first and second down, because you actually have one of the highest EPAs in the league when you throw on first and second down. You just don't do it a lot. In this game, where I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, where I think your offensive line is going to protect Jared Goff, and and the Rams secondary is not going to give that many issues to your receiving core, I want to see them lean a little bit more into that passing game and embrace the fact that they're going to have to hang 30 on the Rams to win this ball game.
Yeah, the Lions are 5th in time of possession because they don't give up on the run. It's part of their offense. And honestly, look, let's be honest. I don't think the Rams are going to give up on their run either. True. Because the Rams have really leaned on their run quite a bit.
Yep.
I just don't think they're going to be as successful with their run against Detroit than they've been recently. And so both teams are going to want to run. Both teams are going to want to control the trenches. But this game is probably won through the air. You know what I mean? Like, and I know.
It's a scary thought. It's a scary thought.
It is. But if you can get to 30,
that's the NFL today.
Look, this is a big number. But if you get to 30, you're going to win.
Yeah. Unless it's 34-31.
If the Lions can get to 30, they're going to win.
Okay. So in the 34-31, they get the 34. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Every time. All right. Let's close out on this one from Twitter. I thought this was a good question from @sarcasm-to-a-fault. Love that name, by the way. Says, not to put negative energy out there, but should the Lions lose this game, would the season still be viewed as a collective success? Now, I think the phrasing of that question is very interesting. Would it still be viewed as a collective success, or would I think it's a collective success? I think those are two different answers.
Now, we talked about this a little bit in our break.
Yeah.
But there's this national conceptualization of constantly moving the goalposts.
Yep.
Right? And so the goalposts have been moved in Detroit. And we entered this season saying, man, if they can get to the playoffs, it's going to be good. And then it's throughout, as the season has wore on, then it's, man, they got to win it. They got to win a playoff game because it's changed. It's moved. And now we're at a point where it's, if you don't win a playoff game, then it's potentially a failed season. When you step back and you look at where they started and what their goals were and what most people's goals for the Lions were, they've already accomplished it. They've already done what most people thought was their ceiling, and that's just getting to the playoffs. If they can take it a step further, even if they lose, this can still be a very successful season when you take a step back and appreciate what they've done, because this is something they haven't done. They've done something they haven't done in 30 years and won the division. Like to think that you could do something that you haven't done in 30 years and yet it still be considered a failure, I think is a misguided perspective. I think if you step back and you see what this team has done, it's already been a success, and regardless of what happens. And I don't think they view it that way, but I think the fan base should view it that way. Personally,
I have a slightly different, mostly the same, but a slightly different twist on it, because I'll disagree with one thing you said, which is the Lions have already accomplished what most people thought the ceiling was for this team. I would disagree with that statement, because I think the expectation, not just locally, nationally, was for this team to win the division this year. That was the expectation. That wasn't the ceiling. That was the expectation. And so the Lions have met expectations. If that's enough for you, then you can't view this as a disappointment. I think there's also some people who say, well, if the expectation was to win the division, then the expectation was also to have a home playoff game, and you should be expected to win your home playoff games. That's fair, right? The Lions are favored, too. They're 3.5-point favorites at home. So if they don't meet that expectations, I think there is room for a little bit of disappointment. But here's what I want to make a bigger overall point. And the bigger overall point is that we don't need to view individual seasons as successes or failures. We don't need to pass-fail this like each year is a college exam. Let's just scope out and see where the trajectory of this franchise is. Because ultimately, the goal is for this franchise to win a Super Bowl. And most people did not expect that to happen this year. So if that doesn't happen this year, that's not a disappointment. That is just a step towards getting to where you want to be. Lions took a step in year one. They drafted a couple guys who are centerpieces to the team. Next year, they started winning some football games. That was step 2. Now they take another step. They win the division. Maybe they don't reach all the goals you wanted to in this particular year, but step. They are taking step forwards. There has been no steps back since these guys took over. And so if you want to segment each season, go for it. But I'm taking a larger scope of this team. I'm not saying this was a win or a loss or a pass or a failure, because they are still heading in the right direction. And that is much more important than classifying each individual season as a win or a loss or a success or a failure. I don't care. I don't care if it was a success or a failure. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun. The Lions have made me entertained for 4 months out of the season. That to me is a win as a fan and a win as a team of this franchise that is headed, a fan of this franchise that is headed in the right direction. So that to me is all that matters. If you want to play this game of success, failure, fine. But I honestly have no interest in that conversation because it doesn't matter.
I definitely think there's going to be people that are going to be disappointed. I just hope as time passes, you can step back and see where they've come, because as you're pointing out, to tear it down to the studs and be where you're at in year 3 is good. And look, if the goal was to get a playoff game and they met that, that's success. You know what I mean? You accomplish your goals. How many teams right now didn't come close to accomplishing their goals and they're blowing it up? Sure. We're at 7 head coaches now, or teams looking for head coaches at this point, or something like that, right?
I think it's 6. Yeah, but it might be 7, or it could even be 8 by the end of this week. You never know.
Right. And so, there's more teams than not don't accomplish their goals. So if you're hitting your goals and you're trending in the right direction, that's a success for me.
Fair. All right. I think we'll leave the conversation there, guys. Hopefully, I'm just going to say, next week we'll be back with another midweek mailbag. Maybe it's a season perspective mailbag. Maybe it's a divisional round preview mailbag. But either way, we know our fans have been a success this year.
Oh, look at that.
We'll leave it there. Guys, thank you for listening. Thank you to our live audience here on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you for all of you listening at home on our podcast feed. Don't forget, I never tell you guys this, don't forget to leave a review or give us 5 stars over on Spotify. We always appreciate the support there. We always like hearing from you, even though we don't read them necessarily out loud every time. We do read them. So if you have something nice to say, if you have some constructive feedback, we'll read that as well. But until then, for Erik, I'm Jeremy. Thank you all for listening. Go Lions, and we'll see you next time. It's chaos. Be kind.
Recording stopped.
Okay. Constructive. That's right. Constructive criticism. That is more appreciated. If you're using swears, if you're calling out individual members of our podcast, that's a good way for me to not read the rest of your review. So we have, I'm going to say 4 minutes to chat here, but anything you guys want, except for special teams. I think we tackled that enough. And the draft, because who cares?
A lot of people care. It's in Detroit
Right now?
this year.
Don't care.
No, I'm just saying.
Thoughts on the referee? Well, I didn't.
I got an article.
I didn't edit it, did I?
I submitted it. No, I think it's unpublished still, if I'm not mistaken. I wrote an article on it. For those of you who are interested.
Short version of it is that he's the second most experienced of head referee of the crews available, of the 6 that are officiating games this week. I believe he's on the lower end of calling penalties.
Yep.
Which is always a good thing.
He calls about 1.5 flags less, or throws 1.5 flags less on average.
And I think I'm assuming you wrote this in the post, but like the important point there too is that he's the officiant of an entire crew during the regular season. He's not going to be officiating with that crew during the postseason.
Yeah, I noted that it's a basically like an all-star type crew. Here, I'll read you what I wrote if you want. I said
so. Like to me, like that tells me that it probably doesn't, like, officiating stats don't really matter this week.
Well, but he's still the one that oversees it,
sure.
Right? Like I
yes.
said, the NFL uses mixed officiating crews for the playoffs, taking the best, most consistent officials from a pool of options. But with Rolstead in charge, there's optimism for an efficiently called game.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's hard.
Spoiler.
I'll be honest. I don't know where the head referee stands during a play. I probably should know that.
He can overrule. He can do a lot.
But I'm saying
a lot of things that he can do.
But I'm saying, like, we can't. If his officiating crew throws a lot of holding flags and he's not the one that's throwing the holding flags, then that is a statistic that no longer matters.
Right, but like again, you're picking the whole point of the refereeing, like the grading system that the NFL does with all of their different officials, is that you're getting guys that, I shouldn't say guys, you're getting individuals who call a properly officiated game, and they're going to take their lead from the one who wears the white hat.
Sure.
And Rolstead tends to look, there's some things that like are not great. Like, for example, the last 2 times that he called Lions games, he threw more flags on the Lions than he did the opponent. At the same time, 60-something% of the games that he calls, the home team wins. So like there's pluses and minuses but I mean, we don't know the entire crew. If I knew the entire crew, I would break them all down.
You probably would.
I would.
But I just answered my own question here. If you're wondering where the head referee is, he is to the right of the quarterback behind line of scrimmage. So he would be guy who calls roughing the passer, calls holding penalties often.
Mm-hmm. And the green, to his left, that guy's not always there. A lot of times he's behind he's next to the mic, depending on the time of the that's left in the game, because they move him depending on circumstances. So the dark green moves, the umpire moves, everyone else pretty much stays in their spot. That's why you see the umpire getting like run over most of the time.
Okay, it is 12:58. I have a meeting in 2 minutes, so that means if our good friend Bearded Blevins is live, we'll rate him, and he is. So I'm gonna go send you over to our good friend Jonathan Blevins. He will be at the game this week. Hopefully, I get to run into him for a minute. Big Lions fan, Fortnite streamer, very fun guy. He's going to be happy to see a bunch of Lions fans in this chat. So if you want to continue the Lions conversation, he'd be more than happy to chat with you. But we will be live either tonight or tomorrow night with a main POD cast playoff edition, and then Thursday night we'll have First Bite. Saturday morning we'll have the Madden Sim, and that is our schedule for the week. So till then, guys, thank you for joining us. We will see you guys soon. I still have to check with the rest of my staff about when we're going to stream.